everyone, my name is Josh and this is Whimsical Industry Musings, and today it's a completely different setup, as you can tell, which means I'm going to read you guys a story that I wrote, and this one is called Weather Beast. And I got this idea for this particular story when I was at home, and it was during one winter, and I got the flu. I was on my way home from the library. I volunteer at the library occasionally, and on my way home from the library, it was during a particularly windy November, sometime in November. I think it was a 2018 or 2019. I'm not quite sure whereabouts, but I began to feel very tired, and I felt very tired as soon as I got home and I got out of my wheelchair. I felt very tired, and I thought, oh, it's just the work at the library. Like, I volunteered to help kids out with their homework at the library. I thought, oh, I was just working too hard, and I obviously feel the weight of tiredness over me. That's obviously what it is. But then I all of a sudden felt so drained. I felt there was massive temperature. I had this massive, fever. Like, I felt myself, and I felt really hot, and I just couldn't move. I couldn't move. My mind was telling me, you need to move, you need to get out of this wheelchair, you need to do this, you need to do that. But my body was just slunk. It was like I was melting. It felt really horrible. You know when wax melts and you just kind of feel like you're this, it just kind of feels like this big lump just sitting there, just gathering and getting all wet and everything like that. Imagine that, but with a person, with me, essentially. And that's what, essentially, I found out I had the flu, and anyone who's had the flu can relate to that. And I feel like that was what it was. And while I was in bed, I kept thinking to myself, what can I do to pass the time? Because I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't even watching television. So whenever I could watch television, I had to have my remote near me, near the bed, and I had to have my position slightly shifted so it's looking in the trajectory of the telly. But I just couldn't get hooked on anything. I was just so miserable, and I spent most of the time when I was having the flu asleep. And while I had the flu, I kept on imagining, because when I'm sleeping in my bedroom, so my bed's here, and just in front of the bed, as I'm looking out as I'm going to sleep, is my wheelchair, my door that leads into my room and out into the hallway, and then the other door leads into the bathroom. And the one that leads into the bathroom had my coat on it, like this really wonderful long tweed coat, and it looked like, in a certain light, to be the shadow of a hood. And I immediately started to play with that and use that sort of as my imagination. So this is kind of like my send up of that idea. And as you get later on into the story, you'll find out. But this is called Weather Beast, and I hope you guys enjoy. And let me know what you think of this story and what other stories you'd like for me to read or to write for this particular section here that I like to do. Whoops. I just need to get back up to that story. I accidentally clicked on an item, so sorry about that. I'm just going to get back up to the story very quick, because I have a collection of stories here that I've written. I put them all into a collection. So I'm just going to find the story very quickly, and then I'm going to continue with reading. I have to make sure to click on the very top. There we are. So this is called Weather Beast. And I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you guys are having a very good day. And again, let me know what you think of this particular reading, and if you want to hear more readings like this, let me know down in the comments. And I hope you're all having a very good day, and enjoy. Weather Beast. It was 11:15 when they left without saying goodbye. I am alone in my bedroom. The space was quiet, but the noises outside were hideous and constant. Every day in winter it rains in droves, plummeting down and intermingling with disposable waste and the soulless remains of autumn's leaves. I hear the rattle of plastic bins on the window frame, propped as if guarding the house, yet they're behaving like minions to the storm. I glance at the light, giving life to the space within a single lamp on my bedside table, and compare it to the ghostly racket of the gloomy and rain-drenched street outside. I'm better off in here and keeping warm, I thought. If the worst should happen, I would know and be the first to say so. Even if my parents are out risking life and limb for my benefit, I still manage to be selfishly grateful of my own seclusion. I used to think I was so unlucky, being far from home and in a no-man's land of dreary skylights and trudging through the countless damp orifices of dirt-riddled bog holes. I then would see the golden light of my bedside lamp inside the veil of curtain drapery, just as my console battery is about to enter the red. I'm slowly being consumed by the darkness as the aggression of this weather multiplies itself into a new form of beast. I hear the thunder and lightning crash, and I am there now, moving to the finish but remaining cold, shivering, silent, stiff all the while. Seeing the light from the lamp felt to me like hearing voices calling through an ocean of some chrome-tinted mist. A warmth and comfort washed over me the minute I opened the door and announced my return, yet words couldn't describe what I felt in those short moments, at least not enough for me to feel it themselves, like I'm right now remembering. I don't know, it felt like stepping into a hot shower or bath after a hard day at work. The steam envelops you in a fiercely dense cloud of security and offers you a chance to experience the pleasure at regaining something once lost and thought or forgotten, something that could one day vanish without a nudge. That is the true appreciation of one's freedom. Just then, a hunch pulls me desperately to the bedside table again by something other. My mobile was sitting lifeless on the oak-wood surface of my table, its charger disconnected from the slot and coiling in a loop round the left foot of the cabinet. I want to reunite the wire to console, but my body is non-responsive. I don't take issue with being lazy just this once, but in the case of an emergency I needed the adapter to keep the tablet in check and as lively as possible. But that's the very issue when you're as under the weather as I am. The body is telling you to move your arse, you useless fat cripple. Then you say, in the drowsiest of human utterances, "No, please, just a few more minutes. I need to rest my back. My legs are stiff. They need to get their strength back. Come on, move. You'll only have yourself to blame if something was to happen. A power cut, for instance. We'll leave you naked and cold. Being starved of light will make you suffer. Or in silence, and that's not the best place to be, right? It could be all well and good saying to do something if worse comes to it, but getting the energy is another matter entirely. My whole body felt as if it was struggling above the weight of a large duvet blanket, the kind of carpet fibre lacings. Those strands, which can function both as limp and flexible when ushered into movement by the delicate clasping of your fingertips, but can also feel like dead weight in blanket folds, or so I've heard. I have no reason to complain, because the conditions in my bedroom are humid and the weather outside is still horrendous. I flicker my thoughts back to the room, and I grapple the arms of my swivel chair and rise slow and steady, readying myself for a fall if I don't put stock in what I hold on to next. I'm standing. I have my walker on hand, if I ever humour the need to mosey about, as my father once said. When I was alone in the house, with him as my carer, I slumped onto the bed with a thud. I fished the cord of my phone charger out from under the cabinet and inserted it back into the slot, where the job of nursing a helpless mobile phone back into health and abruptly can be proceeded without interruption. The light on the top bar of the phone flashes a neon red. My work is done. I sense a wave of tiredness pass through my very being as I feel the weight of my present troubles is melting away. I release a long and overwhelming yawn as the tension from my shoulders drops to my stomach, and I lean back and draw my legs up to the bedding. I'm lying my head back delicately onto the pillowcase before I threw the blanket over myself and experienced the patchy coating of a drafty quilt. Then, at last, the urgency of sleep cannot be ignored any longer. I need to shut my eyes. The light around me is humid and vibrant in density. It lessens quickly to black. Then I see it again. but my attention is focused on the ceiling. My eyelids are only mildly agape with the curiosity that something isn't right. I see a bold, dark shape of long, thin strands attached to the quivering body whose shadow appears to be suspended from a thread. It looked unmistakable, and without my glasses it appeared invisible to the naked eye. This would be the thing to happen now, knowing my luck. I don't mind spiders, but it's in the middle of the night, and this fiend is hanging from a string of web, and with my face uncovered and exposed, one feels vulnerable to the possibility of invasion. I often think of feeling the sensation of it crawling about my face and going through my mouth or into my ears. Then comes the irritable horror of feeling it move, scratching with needle-length tendons, and thinking you're stupid for not doing anything at all in retaliation. I would imagine these things happening to me, but I suppose it can't compare to the irritable sensation of experience itself, am I right? I rise from my resting position and pull the duvet off my feet, and sit myself upright. My head is in a daze as I readjust my eyes to the light. I took a sip of water from a tall plastic coaster, the sort that's reserved for house parties, but can still outlive their appropriate usage when one is running out of glass cups for nighttime. I probably sound lazy saying it like that, but you'll surely understand me, right? You know when the cups are all on the draining board and there are no alternative mugs to sustain a few litres of water straight from a running tap. What do you do then? Bring out the coasters, of course, and fill them plenty. Then you can say its uses is numbered, and you have done well to reduce your carbon footprint from expanding further. Like mucus sitting between a heavy chest and dry throat, it never goes away until you are fully certain of what you need to make it stop. Your actions speak louder than the words you put in print sometimes. I know I'm a writer, and what is printed needs to mean as much as the words you speak, but even I must admit that sometimes the greatest wordsmiths need to bend over to defend them, and as well. Need to bend over and defeat as well, excuse me. Sorry, that was weird. I know I'm a writer, and what is printed needs to mean as much as the words you speak. But even I must admit that sometimes the greatest wordsmiths need to bend over and defeat as well. I say this to myself and my fingers curl behind my back. I've hit another dead end. Doesn't it feel worthless? What a silly thing to enter your mind when you yourself is restless and in need of good company in dreams. A strong vacuum of inconsolable snivelling brushes past me, and I leaned forward with a sudden jolt. Achoo! I pull myself upright once that's done, and stand without thinking about anything, and wander sluggishly toward the bathroom for a roll of tissue paper to clean up the mess. The chilly draught of frozen water residue is piercing when placed in contrast to the warmth, and the door is opened. The room is sterile white, and is as clean as the inside of the royal palace. I walk to a stool, clasping the roll of tissue paper. My hands are finicky as I fiddle with the tissue. I'm rolling tenfold round my hand. I break the chain and blow. Hard and heavy, I stimulate a wet release until it is wet and cold on the skin of my nose. Then I fold it over and try again, with faster results and stronger relief. Again, I feel I have braved the worst of the storm as I go to sit back down on the bed. My eyes are heavy with a mixture of tiredness and boredom, and my back is limp from sitting up straight with no backrest of supportive cushioning. I rest my head upon the pillow, but the light is blazing. I shut my eyes, then a coughing fit starts, and a sneeze follows in its wake. The soldier rises to fulfill his duty and goes to clean himself again. I did the same as before, grab a handful, blow and fold, then dispense and flush the toilet before you leave to wash your hands. I return, then I did it again a few moments later, and I moved more drearily in pace this time. A loud humming is present and lingering, like the weather beast hanging over my bed with its watchful and noticeably retractable legs. I saw it bending those thin curvature legs a half measure and retracting them back so the limbs could appear long and flexible again. The spider or insect could have been communicating to me in its own form and body language, but I didn't care for that much. I didn't care for it that much. The only thing that worried me about the thing would be, the only thing that was worrying me about the thing would be, will it move at all whilst my eyes are so tightly shut? I got my drink from the bedside and took a sip. Once I sat back down, I felt the ice-cold water cleanse my palate and soothe my chest of the strains of the cough would bring. I heard the key go through the door, and I slowly rose and walked with haste to the door and to my parents. I put on my dressing gown and opened the door as quickly as possible, trying to get their attention and the urgency in my situation by pulling it open and darting out into the hallway. "Hello there, Mum and Dad. How did it go?" I said upon seeing them. My voice was groggy and rough-like. I was getting over a sore throat. I also had a chest cold, which was apparent when I lied flat on my back. My breathing would sound husky, and indistinguishable clicking could be heard. Clickety-click, clickety-click. "Oh, it went as well as it could be expected. Thanks for asking, son." "She was in the middle," my mum said, in the middle of taking off her puffer jacket as she was talking. "It's not all bad, just a simple case of a cold, but poor little thing was restless. There was a long wait. Also, with it being this late in the evening, you can imagine the chaos." The poor thing in question was my niece, whom was taken to the emergency services after suffering from dehydration. The reason why this is simply due to the fact that most healthcare practices were dealing with an increasingly high demand of patients. Up until now, though, not even the most urgent cases of patient influx could be seen by A&E staff, so emergency services were forced to work overtime to provide a certain diagnosis to patients. Whether mildly infectious or urgently severe, you made the list, and it was a long one indeed. Budget cuts were made in the spring of this year. Our funds were pulled out of stock and bound when Britain decided to leave the EU. So now, when it comes to raising money for healthcare or anything to do with the well-being of individuals, the Prime Minister thought that raising taxes to go toward the paying for our departure from the European Union was more important altogether. Well, that was the truest definition of first come, first serve. Selfish cow. Anyway, as my mother spoke, I nodded my head sheepishly, peering ever so often to the narrow depths of the hall, to the darkening entrance of our doorstep. Dad had taken the waste out and repositioned the bins at the front of our lawn for the bin men, first thing in the morning. "Dad," I called once he shut the front door and placed the latch on. "Yes, son?" "Could you come in and get rid of this spider for me, please?" Dad nodded. "Of course, where is it?" I went into the bedroom and Dad followed. I pointed at the ceiling toward the very space that was above my pillow. I could see the beast was stock still and looming over the bed from a distance. Dad walked over and stepped onto the mattress, his feet sinking into the quilt like quicksand, and hearing the stern pressure beneath it, as if the springs were about to burst. He stared intently at the ceiling, and quickly reached out a hand to grab it. Suddenly the beast moved, flicked out of its suspension, and tried to flutter away, but my dad caught him in a tight grip. "It's not a spider, it's a gnat. Must have flown in right after we left." "How could it have been? The door was shut and the heater was on all the while." Dad went to go and dispose of the gnat, not only to see that before he left the room the thing had been crushed in the palms of his hand. He went into the bathroom to clean off Nat's gory entrails and left to remove his coat and boots. The last time I saw my parents was when they peeked their heads through the door to wish me good night. I was left alone, with only the warmth of the heater and the unenviable sounds of the wind blowing fiercely in the night. I could hear a lightweight tree branch being torn and screeching along the concrete of the worn-out and broken pavement. I returned to the bathroom to blow my nose again, thinking of the peace I shall now find from that this trouble was past. I sat down sluggishly upon the bed once more and fished out a book of short stories. The story whose title page I bookmarked was called The Thief in the Night by Richard Langley, Section 1, False Innocence. Langley was probably one of my favourite short story writers of contemporary fiction. His art of blending real life with the toys of fantasy and magic is always a breeze to me when getting over a cold. I was reading the opening paragraph to myself, and then aloud, to savour the poetry as it rolls off at the tongue and warms my heart with immediacy. This feeling lasted a while, until when I arrived at Section 3, a betrayal of the past, I could hear as plain as day the sound of some long, drawn-out and ear-piercingly violent scrapings on polished wood. I stirred up my book to track the activity, but couldn't place it. Perhaps it was somewhere near the bathroom door. I returned to my reading of the story. I read intently of a scene where two people were engaged in conversation, which turned into raised voices and heated words being thrown back and forth to sex and the promise of secrets being made so that there will be no betrayal of this moment. The last, in the case of this narrative, and the present in my reading. The woman of the two had died moments afterwards, beaten and strangled to death. The killer, obviously, was meant to kill them outright, and the incident was branded the story's namesake. Was the person accused innocent, or was something else brewing? I wish I could say I knew the answer, but I did not. Anyway, I continued reading, having been gripped by the story's plot. Then I heard the sound of the scraping again, loud and fierce as before. Then I heard a sort of rat-a-tat tapping upon the door. I looked over instantly, startled. Then before my eyes I could see a different beast that was larger than life. But I did not. I saw something otherwise more unsettling. A coat sleeve of my luminous multicoloured rain cape was stuffed inside out. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was what it appeared to be doing now, right in front of my eyes. The sound from earlier was not the rattle of wood, but the rustle of plastic, as it moves and livens itself from the sleeve pocket of my coat by some naked essence, or nothing of this world. I saw the sleeve move, and the scrunching of the plastic as if it were being gripped by a living thing. My words were frozen stiff as I made to shut the book. It could be nothing, just some after effect of the light, making distorted shapes in my vision. These side effects could simply be from my lack of sleep, and I needed to rest my eyes. Just then I felt a chilly breeze creep up my neck as I tried to stifle the association of eerie noises and random movements to ghosts or demons. Yet I wanted to believe that I was safe inside the heated room also. What else did I do then? Simple. Nothing. I drew back the quilt and lifted my legs upon the bedspread again, and felt the mild draught of the pillow and blanket against my bare skin. I switched off the lamp and turned on my side, waiting for sleep to take me, waiting for my very own thief in the night. That's it. That was Weather Beast by Joshua Williams, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you're all having a very good day, and take care. Bye-bye for now.